Welcome to MLB Talk, New York's #1 baseball podcast. Now here's your hosts, Chris Pizzaya and Rob Maraska.
And welcome to a new episode of MLB Talk with your hosts, Rob and Chris. And remember, you can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on TikTok. Give us a sub if you're on YouTube right here. Give us that like. And you can follow Rob at R. Maraska on X. You can follow myself at CP7NY. And Rob, I got nothing good to say, so I think we got to start with the Mets. I'm disgusted like every other Yankee fan right now. So you could start with the Mets. You got at least decent news.
Yeah, you guys are coming into the Subway Series in worse shape than us, and our pitching staff is almost depleted. All right, let's talk Mets and the last 2 days. Yesterday, they split the doubleheader with the Brewers. Game one, we were like, here we go again. They lost it 7-2. It did not look good. Holmes was all right in the beginning, but then Garrett and the bullpen just lost it, and the Mets losing ways continued. Game two, though, things started to turn around. They won that 7-3. Brazoban started for the first inning. I guess they didn't want Tidwell to have any problems in the first inning. But Tidwell gets the win, and the Mets hit. Nimmo and Lindor hit back-to-back home runs in the second inning, and Nimmo had 4 RBIs. Lindor had 3 RBIs. That's all the offense the Mets needed, and things were looking up. Tonight, the Mets from the Brewers, former Met Jose Quintana pitched for the Brewers, and I just want to talk about him for a second. The Mets maybe should have tried to re-sign him instead of going after Frankie Boy, because Montas is just gonna be a mess. We know what's gonna happen, but the Mets look good tonight. Peterson gave them they needed this. The bullpen needed Peterson to go long, which he did. Just a great game. It's just a great game to watch. It was a pitcher's duel. Peterson was great. The bullpen was great. Diaz got the save. He passes Tug McGraw third in the all-time Mets save category. The Mets win 3-2. They win the rubber game, and in the ninth inning, it got a little. Yelich stole what looked like he stole second base, and actually the call was overturned. And man, did the Brewers go nuts. They were going nuts. And then Diaz just finished the game, and the Mets won. So it's looking good for the Mets going into the Subway Series. Although, like I said, the pitching staff is in shambles. Minaya is going to make one more start. He should be all right by next week, from what they said. But with the Yankee series, we don't know who's starting tomorrow. We know Saturday Montas is starting, so that's going to be a disaster. And then Sunday, we don't know who's starting. And the Yankees, of course, have their best pitchers for the whole Subway Series.
Well, 2 out of the 3, because we got Stroman going tomorrow. So that's not looking good, especially after getting swept in Toronto. But you know what? The other good thing with the Mets, right? I think I sent it to you. Juan Soto won Player of the Month, right? And it's the first Met outfielder since Howard Johnson in 1991 to get that award for the Mets.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. Hojo was the last one to win that for the Mets in the outfield. Listen, Soto had a great June. Now we could just forget about all that crap that was going on in April and May. His June was great. He's still hitting. And he's back to being Soto, which you knew was going to happen. You said it too. You're like, these Met fans have to calm down. He's going to be Soto, and he is now. So that's not a problem anymore. I wanted to say hello to birthday boy Joe Dell out there, Chris.
That's right. Joe Dell. Happy birthday, Joe. Hope you're having a great birthday today. Thank you again for everything you've done for us. But anyway, you're a great guy. Happy birthday. Have one on us or two.
Definitely. Have a good one, cuz. But Juan Soto being player of the month just shows that he's gonna be Juan Soto. It was probably the contract, a little of everything, getting used to the new team, the contract, getting shell-shocked in Yankee Stadium during the last Subway Series. He doesn't have to worry about that anymore. Citi Field is just going to be exploding this weekend, and it should be, hopefully it's a good series. The Yankees come limping in with that unbelievable 4-game sweep in Toronto. Chris, what's going on with the Yankees?
Everything that could possibly go wrong is going wrong for them. They're playing horrible in every aspect, right? Defensively, horrible defensively. We've seen them play absolutely horrible. This 4-game series, Toronto easily just outplayed us. Outplayed the Yankees in every aspect. Outpitched, outhit, out everything. Springer is just ridiculous against us. It brought back nightmares from the Astros when he was with Houston. He's just one of those guys that's going to kill us. Berger now is a guy that's going to be killing us now too, which is ridiculous. It's horrible. I mean, and the bullpen right now for the Yankees, they can't get a guy out when we need it. It's incredible. The first game they end up losing 5-4, close game, but again, you fall bullpen, and then second game they lose 12-5, total blowout. Just from the very beginning, you could see that one coming. And then last night, right, they were down 8-0 to start. They come back and they tie it 9-9, and then Devin Williams gives up the game and loses it there in the ninth or whatever it was. So, and then today, Schmidt 3 runs in the 3 innings, and they take him out after the 3rd inning because he has right forearm tightness. That's not good. Anything you hear about forearm, arm, shoulder with the pitching, that's bad. So that's bad news. So assume Schmidt's going to be out a while. That's not good. Yeah. No. And then again, the bullpen tonight didn't. They brought up the kid Beater, who we traded Joey Gallo for 3 years ago. We finally got him up. He's been hurt, whatever. Guy can't throw a strike. Wild, gives up, a couple of runs himself. So that didn't work out. Anyway, we the game was actually a 6-5 game, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then, of course, Springer again comes in, comes up, and Weaver can't keep him in the friggin' park, and he gives up a home run to him. So you get swept. And now they're out of first place for the first time since early April. And again, I've been saying this for a couple of months now. The Yankees should be running away with this division. It's amazing that we're out of first place now, about how bad this team has fallen in the last few weeks. It's amazing.
It is amazing. And yeah, Jonathan, you're right. George Springer is red hot, and he's always red hot against the Yankees.
He played against us.
Yeah, and the Yankees catchers are playing poor defense.
Among other guys, yes. Defense, JC got back-to-back games.
Yeah.
Catching interference. I mean, come on. It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's just amazing how I'm sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, no. It's the defense, and just to eat the small things like moving guys over from second to third. It was funny because not funny. The other day on MLB Network, there was a clip of Morosi interviewing Ted Simmons for his podcast, and he was talking about just doing the little things in baseball. Like if we got a guy on second base with nobody out, we knew the next batter up would get him over to third. Just simple, either bunt or ground out to the right side, something. Like they knew that was the mentality. Just get the guy over. So this way, the next guy comes up, sack fly, get the one run in. That's it. If you're down by a couple of runs, you're chipping away, whatever it is. If it's tied or if it's early in the game, get that run in. It's fine if you don't have a huge inning. If you get the one run here, the one run there, it adds up. But these guys, they don't know how to do that. It's so stupid. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, we talked about that last show. They don't know how to bunt. They can't bunt runners over. This is the fundamentals of baseball, and they're not playing baseball that we're used to. We're used to, they'll bunt the runner over. They'll get the sacrifice fly. That's another thing a lot of these teams have problems with, getting the sacrifice fly, getting the runner in from third. I've never seen so many runners left on third in my life. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. It is unbelievable right now. And the Yankees they're just being outplayed by teams now. They're just simply being outplayed. And it's sad to see, but it really is. I mean, the Yankees check this out. The Yankees are now 8 for 52 with a runner on second and no outs this season. Coming in today, the league average is 263, and they're about over 100 points below that. So the league average is batting 263 in those situations. The Yankees are batting 154.
That's bad. That is bad.
Zero RBIs in those situations.
It's bad. And I mean, all right, Judge is getting walked a lot more too. I mean, you can't blame them.
Fine.
But
you know what? That is totally fine. You know what? That is okay. Then the rest of the lineup has to get the job done. Whoever bats behind him, whether it's Bellinger, it's Jazz, somebody has to get the job done. And that's not happening right now. And then, the bullpen, which I said on the last show, is usually the strength of a Yankee team. But this year it's becoming a weakness, right? Weaver now, again, another bad outing. Williams the other night blew that game. So it's something's got to happen. Like Cashman, and this is what bothers me too. Like Cashman waits too long to make things happen. He had all off season to find a third baseman. Didn't have to be a freaking all-star, just a guy that could play the position. And you can't find an average third baseman to play third base. I know we got the injury to Cabrera, but still, they wanted to find a third baseman so they could move Jazz to second base, and it didn't happen. And now we got a guy who's normally a second baseman playing third base. And then we got a guy playing second base who, one of two guys, whether it's DJ, who is horrible now in the field, and he can't hit, or Peraza, who's good in the field, he is even worse of a hitter than DJ LeMahieu. So there is problems on this team, and Cashman has to figure it out. Now we're hearing, now he's looking at third basemen. He's looking at Ryan McMahon. He's looking at Rengifo. He's looking at, all these guys. That's great. Now you're looking at them. You should have been looking at these guys in the offseason. Like, what are we waiting for? That's what bothers me. Again, what I've talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Urgency. There's no urgency on this team anymore that we used to see. There's just none. And it starts at the top. They're like, we're happy with making the playoffs. We're happy with, just getting to the World Series. Like, that's what this team is about, and it just trickles down to the players. It's sad. Yeah. It's sad to see this team now. And they signed Nicky Lopez. They signed Nicky Lopez. What do you think of that? Is that going to be much better? Listen, it can't be worse than Peraza. So I would definitely bring him up and just DFA, Peraza, or you DFA DJ. They're not going to do that. God forbid you eat the contract. No, you're not going to do that. So it's probably going to be Peraza's spot, the bench, utility infielder or whatever. But he'll get some games. He'll get some starts.
Well, they at least they did something. Look what the Mets did. The Mets need pitching, right? So they signed Zach Pop. Remember him? He pitched a couple of games to the Mariners. He has a 13.50 ERA. So, the Mets, as we know, the Mets are desperate right now for pitching. It's crazy. They with all these injuries, and you have to blame the injuries, definitely. Who saw all these injuries?
Every team
You know,
deals with injuries. You got
yes,
injuries. Every team deals with injuries.
of course.
Look at we've been talking
You're
about the
absolutely
Dodgers.
right.
How many guys do the Dodgers have on the IL, right? They got like a whole team
Right.
on the injured list. So, but they figure it out. Now think
Yeah,
about
they
this.
no.
Tomorrow night for the Subway Series, I mentioned
Yeah.
Stroman. I'm reading here. Justin Hageman is going to start for you guys tomorrow. Does that make sense?
Okay. I guess they made a decision. Yeah, they were talking about that. I'm glad that Stroman's pitching, but you know what usually happens. He knows he's pitching against the Mets, and he's all of a sudden gonna pitch the game of his life. So let's see what happens. You guys have the pitching for this series, definitely. I mean, the Mets. Look who the Mets are throwing. And like I said, Saturday, Frankie Montas, he fooled us with that the first start against the Braves where he didn't give up any runs. The Mets still lost the game, but, you thought, well, maybe this guy's going to be all right. But then his next start back to being, horrible. So
right.
we'll have to see what happens. But, I'm going to give the Yankees one up on the starting pitchers for this series. Definitely.
That's about it. That's about it, because the bullpen's burnt out. The offense, they've been scoring some runs, and the Mets are calling up Brandon Sprout to start Sunday. Okay.
I didn't see that yet. Okay. Jonathan says the Mets are calling up Brandon Sprout, which, I thought the Mets didn't want to bring him up right now. They felt he wasn't ready, but, desperate. I want to see him pitch, but I don't want to see him go out there and, have problems, because we know what that does to a young pitcher's confidence. We've seen that happen so many times with the Mets and with other teams. So, but the Mets have to do something. They're going to have to make some deals. Okay, let's see. What does Jonathan? Okay, so Michael Mayers said Sprout on Sunday. All right, well, we'll see. Let's see how Sprout. That's pretty exciting for the Mets, I think.
Yeah, I listen. Why not? Right, to pitch against a struggling offensive team like the Yankees right now. Why not? You know what? If it gives you 4 innings, solid innings, you'll take it.
And the Mets might have looked at this Yankee series and said, all right, you know what? Maybe now's the time. The Yankees aren't hitting. Blackburn on the IL. That just the Mets are like the Dodgers now with the pitchers on the IL. It's just something that teams have to deal with. But it's a lot at one position. And we're gonna have someone. We're gonna have someone on in the near future talk about injuries. About what's going on with these pitchers, especially with the Tommy John surgery and everything. So I'm looking forward to that. That's probably going to be in a week to 2 weeks. We're going to set it up. And, I'd like to talk about that, because these injuries, it's crazy how many pitchers are injured.
Yeah. No, and I don't see any kind of end to it anytime soon as well. Because like I said, I think it starts at the lower levels, at Little League and in high school. You got these kids trying to, impress everybody who's watching, by throwing as hard as they can all the time. And they're not learning how to pitch. They could throw 90. They could try to throw 90 miles an hour. That's great. But they're not learning how to pitch, right? They're not learning how to pitch like, Maddox years ago, the way Verlander has pitched his whole career, they just did. The art of pitching, I don't think, is there anymore. They just want these guys to throw as hard as they can. And if you get 4 or 5 innings at them, that's great. They don't care about, 7, 8, 9 innings out of these kids anymore,
Yeah. It's sad how rare complete games are. It's like we said when Peterson pitched that complete game a couple of weeks ago. It was like he pitched a no-hitter. They were going crazy. It's just a complete game. It's right. It's not a perfect game. It's not a no-hitter. You pitched a complete game shutout, which is great, but that used to be the norm. It's just, you're right. They come up they want them to throw speed, right? Which is wrecking their arms at a rate that we've never seen before. We've never seen this before. It's just crazy. And I don't know. It may never change. You're right. They want them to go, if they could get 4 or 5 innings out of them and go to the bullpen, that's great. But what is that doing now? Also, you're blowing out the bullpen. So by the time you get to September and the pennant races, you have tired arms in the bullpen.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what happens with the Yankees, right? The last couple of years, that's what happens when by the time the playoffs come around, their bullpen is just shot, So it's going to be interesting to see how, because I know the Mets just won 2 out of 3 against the Brewers, but they just came off playing, not great.
Yeah.
Slumping. So let's see. Listen, if the Mets are fine, I think they're going to sweep the Yankees because the Yankees are just so bad right now. See,
the key to the Mets, they have to get through this pitching, the starting pitching, all right? And the bullpen, they can't blow out the bullpen. Right now, they're playing up and down with the pitchers, bringing a guy up, sending him down, the guy with options, and you never know who's going to pitch. You don't know who's coming up. One day you have Dickie Lovelady, the next day, it's craziness. But the Mets bats seem like they're waking up now. And if that's the case, the Yankees are going to have to worry about that. And yes, Jonathan, the Brewers were the hottest team in baseball coming into the series. They definitely were. And the Mets taking 2 out of 3, I'm happy about that. Because after the first game of that doubleheader yesterday, I was a little worried. I thought they were going to get swept. So far, things are looking up. Let's see what happens against the Yankees, Chris.
Yeah, I personally am not looking forward to it because I just think the Yankees are just in a really bad spot. And the Mets are going to want to come back and take 2 out of 3 at least to the Yankees because they lost 2 out of 3 in the Bronx. And Soto is going to want to have a big series, right? To make up for what happened in the Bronx and whatever happened, the booing and, not wanting to talk with the mic and all that stuff. So, Soto's going to really want to have a big weekend. And we could definitely see it happening, especially having a big game against Stroman. I mean, that could possibly happen tomorrow, I should say. So
tomorrow afternoon. Yeah. Well, see, the deal is, yes, and Jonathan, you're right. Citi Field, House of Horrors, 32-12 at home this year. That's the key for me. The key to this series, one of the keys, is going to be Soto's revenge back on the Yankees and the Yankees fans. I think Soto and I think Lindor are going to have a big series against the Yankees. Soto, because of what you just said, Chris, he has something that he wants to prove. He doesn't have to prove it, but I think he wants to. And Lindor, I think, is going to have a hot series just because, the fans elected him to start in the All-Star game. And I just think that's going to, help him out this weekend. And also Nimmo is pretty hot too. So if you have a hot Nimmo, Soto, Lindor, and Alonso starting to hit, he had a double tonight. He had an RBI. So did Soto, had an RBI. So if those guys hit, the Yankees are going to be in trouble this weekend.
And you guys rearranged the lineup a little bit, right? Now Lindor is second.
Yeah, which you know what? I'm happy that he did that because he had to do something to jazz that up and to change. The Mets were flat. The first game of that doubleheader, the Mets were flat. Changing the lineup was a good thing so far, and it was a good move. Let's just see what happens this weekend against the Yankees because anything could happen. The Subway Series. One thing we know for sure: Citi Field is going to be crazy. All year, it's been like a playoff atmosphere at Citi Field. It's like the Mets, every game, is like the Mets are in the playoffs. So it's going to be a great series.
Yeah.
And what's Jonathan say over here? The Mets allow the Bronx Giraffe win for this weekend. I don't
Bronx
know
Giraffe
about
is
that.
winless so far.
Yeah. The Bronx Giraffe is winless so far, yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, you got anything else about the Yankees before we move on to some other baseball
Just,
stuff?
I think the Clark Schmidt thing, I mean, that's going to hurt, obviously.
Yeah.
They're going to do an MRI tomorrow that they're going to try to figure it out, see how bad it is. Hopefully it's not too bad, but it's never good, right? Forearm strain or whatever. That's never good. I'm not expecting good news tomorrow to come out of that MRI. So, it's going to be that kid Winans that they had up. He just pitched recently. Or you know what? Obviously, Cashman's going to be on the phone now, not just for a third baseman, but for bullpen help and maybe possibly a starter, because they announced too might start a rehab program next week. So that's at least, and he's going to be at least a month away. They said
At least
probably
yeah.
late August, at the earliest, late August, he'll be back. So we can't count on him to come in, in the next couple of weeks either. So, and I think right now that All-Star break is looking much better for the Yankees. I think they need the break. Because they're just awful right now. I mean, who knows? Maybe they come into Citi Field and play really good and erase all these bad feelings, but I just don't see it. I really think it's not going to be a good series for the Yankees, even though they got, like you said, they have the starting pitching matchup advantage in at least 2 out of the 3 starts. Stroman, that's well. I mean, and you guys are starting, basically a rookie too, or So it's I don't know. Tomorrow's going to be a toss up, but the next 2 games, the Yankees have the advantage, but their bullpen has just been awful. So unless they're throwing complete games, which we know that's not going to happen, I think the Mets still have the advantage here, and I think the Mets are going to win the series.
Yeah, I think I'm going to call for the Mets to take 2 out of 3 against the Yankees. Fried is the one I'm worried about on Sunday afternoon, and that's another weird thing. Not one game is a national game this weekend.
Yeah, I was shocked. I was actually shocked about that.
Yeah, they're all on Yes and SNY. So I don't know why that is. I thought ESPN would at least have a Sunday night game, but who knows? So we'll see. I'm calling for the Mets to take 2 out of 3. What are you calling, Chris?
Yeah, at least that, possibly a sweep. I'm hoping we'd get at least one game and, walk out of there with some kind of pride and not get swept. So it's good. Yeah, I'm with you. I'll say 2 out of 3 also.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens with this Subway Series. I hope it's better for the Mets than the last one. Probably will be. Well, we got some other stuff going on in baseball. Clayton Kershaw reaches 3,000 career strikeouts. What did you think about that, Chris?
Yeah, that's pretty big. And obviously Kershaw is, that guy's definitely going to be going to the Hall of Fame without a doubt. I mean, he's a first ballot guy, even if he didn't get the 3,000 Ks. I mean, this is an MVP, 3-time Cy Young, Triple Crown winner, won the World Series, 5-time ERA title, Player of the Year, Gold Glove, Clemente Award. Now he's got the 3,000 strikeouts. He's only the 4th lefty to do it.
Yeah.
In baseball history, which is crazy when you think about that. But
that is crazy. That's crazy. He's the 20th pitcher, but the 4th left-hand. So 16 have been right-handers. Only 4 have been lefties. That's, I would have never thought that. I would have thought there would be more left-handers on that list. Yeah, he's definitely yeah, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, I'm pretty sure. And 3,000 career strikeouts is still a great stat. I mean, only 20 pitchers have done it in the history of baseball. Think about that.
And let's be honest, how many more are going to do it, right? I mean,
Right.
Maybe Chris Sale. Chris Sale's got 2,500, 24. But does he have enough time to get another almost 500? He's going to need probably at least another 2 more really good seasons to get it.
Yeah.
So, and we know his injury history. Garrett Cole right now is at 2,200, but I think the Tommy John is killing him. He's good. He missed this year. He's going to miss probably half of next year or whatever he's going to miss next year. So I don't know if he's going to get it because he's got this. I think this would have been 4 years. So after this year, I think he's got 3 years left on his contract. So yeah. I don't know. And next year is going to be a half a year, maybe. So 100 strikeouts, maybe, if he's lucky. So he'll need 700 in his last 2 years.
Yeah,
he's probably short.
Yeah, I think he's going to be short. I think this injury, the injury did it to him, missing a year and a half because he's not realistically, he's going to miss probably, half of next season, I would say, right? Usually that's the case with the surgery. So, and
even if they come back, right? I mean, they're not they're not, they're not their old self, at least for, so I think next year is, I don't want to say a full wash, but we know, especially the first month or so, he's not going to be in, his old self.
And then something else you have to worry about after next season. We talked about it last show, the work stoppage, right?
Yeah.
Yes. We don't know how long that's going to be, but we spoke about that. And, there's a good chance that this is going to be a long work stoppage. It's not going to just be spring training or whatever. This could go into the season, and it could take away a lot of, the beginning of the season. I don't know. It's going to be crazy because the players union, they're not going to give up a lot.
Right. Yeah, they don't want that salary cap, right? And that's what the ownership wants right now. So it's going to be interesting. Unfortunately, it's probably going to be a big one, right? It's probably, like you said, it's going to, we're talking about going into the season. We're going to lose games for sure. I just hope it's not, half a year, if it's a month, whatever it is. But I'm, praying that cooler heads prevail and they figure something out, whether it's, a cap with the floor as well, or whatever they come up with. And it's going to be interesting though. Let's just pray and hope that, it gets solved as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I know, because then you end up where the season's going to be shortened, right? So that affects that'll affect the strikeout stats also, all stats.
Absolutely.
And I hate when that happens. I do. I hate when, they have to shorten the season. I mean, sometimes it can't be helped, like with COVID, but with the work stoppage, it's just it's going to be a mess because I just have a feeling there's going to be a work stoppage.
Yeah.
But we'll worry about that. We still have this year and next year to worry about. Let's get into the subject of gambling right now. What happened with Luis Ortiz of the Guardians, Chris?
Yeah, and did you see that they're concentrating on 2 pitches?
Yeah, 2 pitches. One pitches. Not close to the strike zone, right? For possible gambling. Like, what were people betting on? That batter? That at bat?
Probably the first. No, probably. I think it was the first pitch.
The first pitch, right?
Right. It probably is the first pitch going to be a strike or not. So he probably, spoke to somebody or whatever, and there was a lot of money, especially on those first pitches, those 2 first pitches that he thrown. There was, a ridiculous amount of money, and obviously not to throw a strike because he threw it in the dirt or whatever. It was nowhere near a strike. So, but you know what? It's sad that we're probably going to see this more often because of the tie-in with the gambling, and gambling is this is the risk, or this is what you're going to get when you legalize gambling and when you throw all these commercials on. People are going to get into gambling, and what's going to happen. So unfortunately, this is probably going to happen more often.
I think you're right. I think Major League Baseball opened up Pandora's box with this stuff. Pregame show sponsored by DraftKings, postgame show sponsored by DraftKings.
Everything.
Then
Everything.
they give you they give you the odds, right?
Right.
And they give you special picks. Meanwhile, they reinstated, of course, Pete Rose, which we talked about the other day, and Shoeless Joe Jackson and everything. But you're hearing about this guy Ortiz, but it seems like the Ohtani stuff was swept under the rug because that died pretty quick.
Yeah. And we know, obviously, I mean, we talked about it too. It's like, how did he not know that this guy was taking millions of dollars from him? Like literally millions. I'm sorry. I know even if you have a lot of money, you're going to see millions of dollars missing from your account or something, right? So,
right.
Something was fishy there. We know it.
Yes.
Baseball didn't want their golden boy to be caught up in a gambling mess. That would have been, think about this. Think about if that came out, that he was guilty, that he was the guy that was gambling on games. Imagine that, like the baseball's biggest star getting caught gambling on baseball. That would have been, it would have been a killer for baseball.
It would have been a killer, and especially, like you said, the golden boy Ohtani. But you're right. He doesn't know millions of dollars are missing. Come on. If I have whatever money I have now, or whatever, if I had whatever Ohtani had, I'm still going to know. No matter if it's small or big, I'm going to know if I'm missing millions. There's just no way. And how did this guy have access to everything? He was a trusted, he was trusted. His interpreter was trusted. You think I'm going to trust an interpreter with millions and millions of dollars and access to my account? Give me a break already. Something happened. It was swept under, the rug. This other guy, he's doing a little time for this, but who knows what he got paid to take the fall. We don't know what happened. The Major League Baseball swept it under the rug, and it makes the Pete Rose thing look like nothing to me. Yeah, and it is something.
It definitely is. What he did was horrible and all that. But if they do, like, they've already reinstated him, and if he ends up going into the Hall of Fame, it's going to open up. We said it. It's going to open up probably the door for possibly the steroid players to be put in, like the Bonds, Clemens, all of them. But it's also going to show, I think, the players, like, this guy did the worst thing possible, bet on the game, right? Bet on baseball.
Right.
He bet on games while he was manager. So a player now might see that and go, oh, look, I mean, all right, it took until the guy was dead until they reinstated him. But, they might say, oh, look at this. They reinstated him. I'll do it. I don't care. I'll take the penalty. I'll make a couple of $1 million because, especially for a guy like Luis Ortiz, or maybe, I'm not putting him down, but maybe a guy that's, kind of like just barely a major leaguer, making the league minimum. I'm sure a guy like that's going to be willing to take a chance because he's going to be able to cash in.
Yeah, I mean, really, if he's not a big name player, and he has a chance to make even more money than, like you said, the league minimums, it's the temptation is there for that type of guy.
It was just the like temptation with the steroid guys, right? Some of the steroid guys, that weren't that good, started taking steroids to get better so that they could, be on a major league roster. So they could, some of those guys maybe wouldn't have gotten on to a major league roster if they didn't take steroids. So,
but sometimes, like with the steroids also, you wonder, like, what was going through some of these players' heads. Like Barry Bonds, he was great before all of this. Why? What? I mean, is it to go to a next level? I mean,
I think, you know what? I think when in 1998, when McGwire and Sosa was going at it, with the home run race and all that, and all the attention was on them. Bonds, on the other hand, was having this great MVP season, right? Winning MVPs in San Fran. But he only hit 40 something home runs that first year, I think in 98, whatever it was. So yeah, he had a great season, but nobody cared. Nobody was paying attention to that. Everybody was paying attention to the home run derby. So it was like, wait a minute, I could do that. Like I'm great. I could be just as great as that. And I think that kind of sucked him in. People like, listen, I got to get 70 home. I want to break this guy's record now. I want to break his record.
Yeah,
I
and baseball. Let's baseball put a blind eye to it at that point. They loved what happened with Sosa and McGwire.
Absolutely.
All right. Absolutely. Remember how big it was? Like every bat they had flashing across the screen on ESPN. It was a huge event that season.
And I can't see that happening again with baseball. You know what I mean? I just can't see it that big that it was like in 98 with that home run race. Like what if Judge and Ohtani got into a home run race, or Cal Raleigh, right? The three of them, they were all hitting 50 home runs in August. Do you think they're really going to cut into every at bat like we've seen with that? I don't think the country is that interested in like it used to be.
It's not. But I do have to say this. I think Ohtani probably did make things more interesting right now, because it looks like. I see this maybe, I see this at Citi Field. I see at Yankee Stadium. I do see a lot of little kids now into baseball. So maybe it's turning again. Maybe it's because of all the rule changes, and it makes the game go faster, except on the nights we want to do a show after the game. That's the only time the games don't go faster, right?
No,
that's when the games are over, at 10:30. But every other night they're over by 10 o'clock. So it could be all these rule changes. A lot of them we don't like. We don't agree on. I mean, I like the pitch clock, but I'm going to tell you something. I don't like the rule about throwing over to first base. I think it handcuffs the pitcher. If the pitcher sees, if he sees he could pick somebody off of first, he should not have a limit of times that he could throw over to first. I mean, I know sometimes they could be ridiculous, but that's another one. That, and I've said it a zillion times, that stupid ghost runner, it makes me feel like baseball is little league baseball with a ghost runner.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's like, automatic guy on second. It's like, isn't that stupid stuff we used to do when we were kids? It's ridiculous. We didn't even do that as kids, but it's ridiculous. Starting a runner on second base. All right, COVID, they wanted to get the games over quicker, but nobody was in the stadium anyway, except for those cardboard people. All right. I thought after COVID, I really thought that the ghost runner was going to disappear, but I guess they like it. I don't know. I'm just glad that they didn't implement it for the.
And they got the doubleheader, the 7-inning doubleheaders or whatever they were doing too during COVID.
Oh, that's right. Remember, they didn't keep. That's right. They were doing the 7-inning doubleheader. That is a definite little league move. 7 innings, right? Yeah, I'm glad at least I forgot about that. Thanks, Chris. I'm glad that they stopped that. But these rules. The point I was trying to make was that these kids might be getting into it because it's quicker, the game's faster, it's fast paced, the things they do, like, could you imagine Joe DiMaggio running through smoke to rap music to get on the field? No. It's just crazy. The old time players would have never done half the stuff that goes on today.
Yeah, I totally agree. Listen, they announced the All-Star starters. We could get into that a little bit.
Okay, let's do it.
No big. I don't think any big surprises.
No.
We'll start with the American League catcher. Obviously, Cal Raleigh having a great season. 33 home runs. First base, Vladdy got it over Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt's kind of tailed off, as we got. So I'm okay with that. The numbers weren't that bad. Second base, Gleyber Torres.
He deserves it.
Yeah, first spot. Second base was really weak this year for the American League. If Jazz was playing second, maybe that would have changed things a little bit. But Gleyber got it, having a really good season. First start for him in the All-Star game. Shortstop, a rookie, Jacob Wilson from the A's.
Yeah, from the A's.
So the A's got someone there, so that's good for them. Beat out Bobby Witt. I mean, Bobby Witt's not having a great season.
No.
But you know how popular Bobby Witt is. So
yeah, that's a shock. That's kind of a shock, Chris. That was kind of a shock to me.
It was. I think Wilson's having the better year.
Yeah, he is.
I think they got it right, the fans, but I'm just surprised. Yeah, like you, I'm shocked too, because you don't expect the A's player to beat out a popular player like Bobby Witt Jr.
No, but he deserves it, so it's a good thing.
Without a doubt. Third base, of course, Jose Ramirez gets it.
Of course.
We're looking at a future Hall of Famer here. I hate when people say he's underrated. He's definitely not underrated or underappreciated.
Mm-hmm.
Not anymore. Nope. He beat out Bregman, which is good. Bregman's been hurt. DH Ryan O'Hearn beat out Rice of the Yankees. Not a surprise. Rice, his numbers are not there yet, I think, but we'll see. Outfield, you got Judge. He was the leading vote getter.
Yep.
So he gets one of the starts. The other two guys, one of them makes sense. I like Riley Green.
Yeah, I do.
Really good season. Javier Baez. It's a great story. He's having a great comeback year, but he kind of tailed off the last month. I didn't think he would have gotten it, but the runners up were Trout and Stephen Kwan. Kwan's having a decent year.
Yeah, he is.
But Trout's not having a great year. I think he's batting 220 or 230.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Baez. We Met fans don't want to hear about that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't blame you.
Because a guy who's starting for the National League, could you believe him and Baez are starters? That's pretty weird.
It you know what? When you think about it, it is crazy, And I thought Baez, especially the last couple of years with Detroit, he was so bad. But he has a really good comeback year. So it's a good story. He's the first player since I think Pete Rose to start 3 different positions. Was that it in the outfield in the All-Star game?
In the All-Star game, yeah. All right, so that's good for the American League.
Outfield. National League, Will Smith at catcher over Carson Kelly, so that made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
First base, this was the hard one for you guys, Freddie Freeman, but we kind of seen that happening, right? We know the Dodger fans, they're going to vote for Freddie, over Alonso, but Alonso probably makes it. He'll probably, make it as a backup.
Yeah, I think so.
Second base, Ketel Marte having a really good season. He definitely deserved it over Tommy Edman.
Yeah, definitely. I don't even want to hear about Tommy Edman, and neither do you.
No, definitely not. Shortstop, you guys got your, start with Lindor.
Finally.
Betts. And listen, I don't know if Lindor deserved it over Ellie De La Cruz, but he definitely deserved it over Mookie Betts, I thought.
Definitely.
Because Lindor's been slumping a little bit, right? So but I'm happy he got it.
Yeah, he believe it or not, he hasn't made the All-Star team as a Met yet. So he hasn't been one since the Guardians. So I'm happy about that.
Since they were the Indians, actually. Right.
That's right. You're right. I don't even want to talk about that because sometimes it's just, the logo alone, what is that?
I know. I'm not a fan either. Trust me. I don't know. But
all right.
Not our team, so not our problem.
Yes, exactly.
Third base, Manny Machado, 4th time as a starter. Good for him. And he's a 7-time All-Star now.
Yeah.
He beat out Max Muncy, who Max Muncy's, we're talking about injuries. He just got hurt for the Dodgers, right? When that bad, it wasn't a bad slide. It was just a bad injury from a slide.
Yeah.
So he's going to be out a while. So that's going to be big. So now that's another team. You guys, us, now the Dodgers are looking for a third baseman. So, and there's none out there.
It's going to be something.
Yeah. DH, of course, it's Shohei.
Yeah, of course.
Right. Outfield, they got Pete Crow Armstrong, you mentioned already.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Great season. Kyle Tucker also with the Cubs. And that's his first time he's getting elected to start, which is surprising.
It is surprising.
Really good ball player. And then the other starter is Acuna, coming back from the injury. He's been great since he's been back.
He has been. Right. Yeah, so no surprises there. Yeah.
So that's that for the All-Stars starters. Anything else we got?
Nope. I just wanted to say a quick remember to watch Joey Chestnut back at the Nathan's hot dog eating contest.
That's right,
tomorrow. And that will be time. And that's about it, Chris. That's all I have. Do you have
the only other thing I think we got to just say happy birthday again to Joe Dell, our master musician who does our music, the intro and the outro. So thank you again, Joe Dell, and happy birthday. Hopefully we'll see you soon. And I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it. So thanks, everyone. We had a pretty big audience tonight, and we'll see everybody Monday at 3 p.m.